50 Cent lit up the internet with just one photo of Tiny Harris, and what he said about King Harris after that, total chaos. He didn't just throw shade, he tossed a grenade into the whole situation. When he hinted at who King's real daddy might be, jaws dropped everywhere. Nobody saw that twist coming. Once you find out what's really been going on inside that marriage for years, you'll see why this feud runs way deeper than a simple online clash. This isn't just another celebrity spat. It's layers of betrayal, pride, and history colliding in public view. The drama, the tension, and the bomb 50 just dropped. It's been brewing for a long time. To really get it, we gotta rewind, because this story didn't just pop up in February 2026. No way. This fire's been smoldering for almost 20 years, and it only exploded now because one man, Curtis James Jackson II, better known as 50 Cent, decided he was done playing nice and went straight for the jugular. The bad blood between 50 Cent and T.I. traces all the way back to the mid-2000s when both were sitting on top of the rap world. 50 had G-Unit running like a full-blown empire, moving millions of records and calling shots like a CEO. Meanwhile, Clifford Joseph Harris Jr., better known as T.I. from Atlanta, was claiming his throne as King of the South. And with his hits, it was hard for anyone to argue otherwise. These were two of the biggest names in the entire rap world, 50 Cent and T.I. And when you put two powerhouses like that anywhere near each other, you know some sparks are gonna fly. At first, it was subtle. Quiet tension, slick jabs in interviews, and a little friendly competition that never quite crossed the line. But by 2007 and 2008, things stopped being playful. That's when it turned serious. 50 Cent started calling out T.I.'s legal troubles, and the way he did it hit hard. He began asking the kind of question that can haunt a rapper forever. He was basically saying, did the King of the South talk to the feds?
I said I wanted 50, that's what I said. He don't smoke though.
Oh, no.
I called my man out, he don't want no smoke, he ducking smoke, it's cool.
That kind of accusation can ruin a man's whole image in the game. Here's how it all went down. October 2007, Atlanta. T.I. was busted during a sting set up by the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. He was accused of trying to buy 3 machine guns and 2 silencers through his own bodyguard, who turned out to be secretly working with the government. That twist alone had people talking non-stop. The charges were no joke. We're talking serious federal counts, each one carrying up to 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. That's the kind of time that could have buried anyone's career for good. So when March 2009 rolled around and T.I. only got 1 year and 1 day behind bars, people started raising eyebrows fast. The math just didn't make sense, and the streets were whispering that something was off. Of course, 50 Cent wasn't gonna stay quiet. Not on his watch. On G-Unit's 2008 album T.O.S., Terminate on Sight, he dropped a track called You So Tough, and there was one line that had the whole industry buzzing. He rapped, I got the best lawyers money can buy. They said it would have got me 10 or maybe 9. I said, well, how do you explain how homie breathed it? So keep your mouth shut or you eat the cheese. That line hit like a gunshot. Everyone knew who he was talking about. When reporters tried to corner 50 in interviews, asking if it was about T.I., he played it smooth, acting like it was just another lyric. But everyone could feel it. He just started a war with that verse. But then, just a few seconds later, 50 basically confirmed what everyone was already thinking. That was it, no more guessing. T.I., on the other hand, stood firm. He's always said he never snitched on anybody, not once. According to him, everything he did was personal, tied to the pain of losing his best friend, Phil Johnson, who was tragically shot and killed in Cincinnati back in 2006. That loss hit him deep, and he claimed that every move he made after that was about finding justice, not cutting deals.
Is that line about?
Absolutely for the public to decide.
As part of his court agreement, T.I. did over 1,000 hours of community service. He traveled across 25 states, talking to thousands of young people, spreading messages about staying out of trouble and turning your life around. But in hip-hop, the rumor of being a snitch spreads 10 times faster than any truth ever could. And once that label sticks, it's hard to shake off. After all that noise, the beef went quiet for a bit, almost like both sides needed to cool down. But peace never lasts long in this game. It flared up again in 2020 when T.I. commented on the tragic death of rapper King Von in Atlanta, and 50 thought his words were cold and disrespectful to a hurting community. That moment reignited old wounds, but even then, it didn't go nuclear. Not yet. Everything finally exploded in 2026, and all it took was a talk about Versus battles turning way too personal, way too fast. In early February 2026, T.I. sat down on the Nightcap podcast with Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson, and that's where he spilled some tea that shook things up. He told a story about how he and 50 Cent were both out in Los Angeles working on different TV projects. While they were there, they apparently chopped it up about doing a Versus battle to celebrate each other's catalogs. According to T.I., they agreed on it. Everything seemed cool, but then, once T.I. went public with the idea, 50 suddenly acted like he had no clue what T.I. was talking about. That switch-up had everyone confused. Later on, T.I. broke it down even further, saying he thought 50 was playing games behind the scenes. Most people figured 50 would clap back the usual way. Drop a diss track, throw some bars, or at least make it lyrical. But nope.
Use real-life situations to create something that's entertaining without being specific. That's entertainment to me. Like if I had an issue, when have you known me to be indirect with an issue?
You're pretty direct.
Right, so if I had a problem with any artist, trust me, they would know.
50 went in a whole different direction, and the route he took had people saying he crossed the line. Instead of responding through music, 50 hopped on Instagram and dropped a shady photo of T.I.'s wife, Tamika Tiny Harris. The caption? It was basically a warning, telling T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth. But this time, it wasn't a shot at T.I. the rapper, his hits, or his status in the game. It was personal, a direct hit at his wife. That's the exact moment everything flipped. Because right there, 50 didn't just stir up a rap beef, he dragged a woman into a mess she had nothing to do with. And Tiny, she's already been through more than most people can imagine. To make things even messier, their 21-year-old son, King Harris, was watching every single post, seeing his parents getting dragged across the internet. And that's when the situation really started to spiral. This stopped being about music the second 50 brought family into it. Now it was personal. And as you're about to see, when you come after this family, you're tugging on a thread connected to years of drama, secrets, and serious history. Tiny Harris, that marriage, those long whispered rumors, it's all tied together. To understand why 50's attack on Tiny hit so hard and why King Harris snapped the way he did, you've got to know who Tamika Tiny Harris really is, and what her relationship with T.I. has quietly been carrying behind closed doors for years. People love to label Tiny as just T.I.'s wife, but that's not even close to the full picture. Before T.I. was even a name in hip-hop, Tiny had already made her mark in the music industry. She was born Tamika Diane Cottle on July 14th, 1975, in College Park, Georgia, right in the heart of Atlanta's music scene. In the early 90s, she blew up as part of the R&B group Xscape, one of the most iconic girl groups of that era. They didn't just make hits, they defined the sound of the 90s. But Tiny wasn't just singing. She was writing, producing, and shaping songs that turned into timeless anthems. She even co-wrote No Scrubs for TLC, a track that changed the game, and worked on music for Destiny's Child before they became global superstars. That's the kind of legacy people dream of having. Before her life with T.I., Tiny kept things low-key. She was in a long relationship with Zoni Zebo Pullins, starting back in 1992. They were together for about 6 years, and in 1996, they welcomed their daughter, Zonique, who would later follow in her mom's footsteps and become a singer herself. So yeah, Tiny wasn't just the wife in someone's shadow, she was a powerhouse on her own, which makes 50's decision to come for her even more explosive, because he wasn't just poking at T.I., he was poking at a woman who helped build the sound of an entire generation. Tiny wasn't just famous for her music, she also opened up her life to the world. On her reality show, she once told a story that had people talking about a brief but close connection she shared with Tupac Shakur back in 1994. She said it almost turned romantic, but it never actually did, and sadly, Tupac was gone just 2 years later in 1996. Outside of that, Tiny's history was clean. No wild scandals, no messy drama, nothing that hinted at trouble. She met T.I. in 2001 through the music scene, since her group Xscape already had ties to his label, Grand Hustle Records. At first, Tiny wasn't feeling him at all. Word is she even turned him down and stood him up a few times, but eventually she gave him a chance, and by the mid-2000s, they were all in, a full-on power couple. Their bond grew strong fast. By July 30th, 2010, they tied the knot in a quiet courthouse ceremony down in Miami Beach before celebrating big later in Atlanta and Las Vegas. Together, they built a blended family that became the center of their world. They had 3 kids: King, born in 2004, Major in 2008, and Little Eris, born in 2016. But it wasn't all joy. In 2007, they suffered the heartbreaking loss of a stillborn daughter, something that shook them deeply. Between T.I.'s kids from before and Tiny's daughter Zonique, they were raising 7 children together. A true modern family. But even from the start, their marriage was tested hard. Just months after saying, "I do," T.I. got hit with drug charges while still on probation, and he had to serve more time behind bars. Through it all, Tiny stayed solid, standing by him through every storm. Eventually, they decided to let the world in on their lives, launching the VH1 reality series T.I. and Tiny, The Family Hustle, in 2011. The show ran for 6 years, giving fans an inside look at their chaos, their love, their hustle, everything that made them one of hip-hop's most talked about families. The cameras showed both the highs and the lows of their life together. But behind the scenes, cracks were already forming. In 2014, things took a wild turn when T.I. got into a physical fight with boxing champ Floyd Mayweather Jr. at a restaurant in Las Vegas. The streets lit up with rumors that Mayweather had been getting a little too close to Tiny. And when that video of the brawl surfaced, it went viral instantly. Both Tiny and Floyd shut the rumors down, insisting nothing ever happened between them. Mayweather claimed he'd known Tiny long before she was even with T.I., and Tiny herself later spoke on the whole situation during a 2018 interview on Candy Coated Nights. She made it clear she didn't physically cheat, but she also kept it real about what was going on in her marriage at the time. In her own words, she said, "I didn't really cheat. I didn't have any. He flirted with me. Everybody needs a little attention, especially if she ain't getting it." That confession said everything. It showed just how distant things had gotten between her and T.I. The love was still there, but the spark was fading fast. Then came the real breaking point. December 2016. On the 7th of that month, Tiny officially filed for divorce in Henry County, Georgia, citing irreconcilable differences and asking for primary custody of their kids. It wasn't gossip. Court papers confirmed it was real. She refiled again in April 2017 after the first case fell apart because T.I. hadn't been properly served with the documents. When Tiny finally opened up about it in a 2019 interview, she didn't hold back about what led her there. She spoke with raw honesty about how she'd been feeling trapped, unseen, and tired of carrying all the emotional weight alone. Proof that even power couples can reach their breaking point when the love starts slipping away. Tiny later opened up about why she filed for divorce, and her words hit deep. She said it came down to her self-respect. She'd been dealing with years of cheating, lies, and straight-up disrespect, and she finally hit her limit. But by the summer of 2017, something shifted. Instead of letting everything fall apart, she and T.I. pulled back from the edge and decided to fight for what they had. T.I. spoke on it, saying Tiny was his best friend and that he couldn't just walk away from that kind of bond. The final season of their reality show even captured those raw moments, the near breakup, the counseling, the rebuilding. Fans got to watch them piece their love back together in real time, and somehow they made it through. Fast forward to 2025. They were celebrating 15 years of marriage. They took a romantic trip to Thailand, posting videos from a luxury yacht and dropping sweet captions for each other that had everyone talking. You could feel it. These two had fought for their love and actually found their way back. I called her the love of his life, and Tiny opened up about how much he'd grown, saying she could finally feel the change in how he loved her after 24 years together. Then came early 2026. They showed up to the Grammys looking like pure power couple energy, matching fits, smiling big, the picture of unity. But just when everyone thought the past was behind them, 50 Cent dropped that photo. After that post, rumors started flying fast. Wild claims, including 50 hinting that King Harris might not even be T.Y.'s biological son. That's when things turned ugly. But here's the truth. None of that gossip has any verified facts behind it. What's real and what records confirm is that King was born in 2004, 3 years after T.I., and Tiny first got together. Both of them have always claimed him, raised him, and stood by him as their son. No question about it. That whole paternity rumor, pure 50 Cent tactics. Classic move. He's always known exactly where to hit for maximum pain, and this time he went straight for the heart, tossing out the most explosive idea just to watch how everyone would react. But underneath all the marriage tension and social media drama, T.I. and Tiny's family was facing something way heavier, something that made a rap feud look small. Starting in January 2021, things took a dark turn when more than a dozen women came forward with shocking accusations against T.I. and Tiny. These women claimed they had been drugged, assaulted, held against their will, and even trafficked, with incidents allegedly stretching all the way from 2005 to 2018. The headlines were everywhere, and the story blew up fast. T.I. and Tiny came out swinging in their defense, denying every single accusation. They said the whole thing was a setup, a coordinated attempt to squeeze money out of them by any means necessary. Their lawyer, Steve Sato, didn't mince words either. He called it an assorted shakedown campaign and insisted none of the claims had any real proof behind them. Even still, the fallout was immediate. VH1 pulled the plug on their show while the network launched its own review, and the Los Angeles Police Department opened a full investigation in May 2021. But by September, the LA County District Attorney's Office officially announced they wouldn't be filing charges, saying the statute of limitations had already expired for the alleged incidents. Back in Georgia, nothing came from the investigations there either, but the story didn't completely fade. Because in January 2024, one of the accusers, an Air Force veteran known only as Jane Doe, filed a civil lawsuit in California. She used a state law that allows older cases to move forward if the plaintiff can show there was a cover-up involved. T.I. and Tiny fought hard to get the case thrown out, and by August 2024, a federal judge did dismiss it. But the ruling left the door cracked open. The judge gave the accuser permission to refile with more specific details. Even though the case was tossed, the damage to their reputation lingered. Another heavy weight on a family already fighting to stay standing under non-stop public scrutiny. No charges, no convictions, but the shadow from all that controversy never really disappeared. So when 50 Cent decided to post that photo of Tiny Harris and turn her into the punchline of a joke, he wasn't just clowning another rapper over a Versus battle gone wrong. He was digging into years of pain. Cheating rumors, near divorces, federal investigations, all of it dragged back into the spotlight for millions to see like it was just another meme. That move right there flipped the switch on everything that came next, and it's exactly why King Harris didn't stay calm or quiet. He came out swinging with everything he had. This wasn't just a son defending his mom. This was personal, emotional, and years of built-up frustration bursting out in front of the world. And just like that, King Harris versus 50 Cent. The internet exploded, timelines split in half, and before the day was even over, 50 Cent had deleted everything. But by then, the damage was done. The moment King saw that photo of his mother sitting on 50's Instagram page, something in him snapped. At just 21 years old, he's lived his entire life in the public eye. Cameras flashing, blogs talking, people judging. He's seen his mom get dragged online for years, her name tossed around in gossip stories and cruel jokes since he was old enough to hold a phone. So when the same man who'd been trading shots with his dad suddenly used his mom's picture as bait for laughs, that was it. The line had been crossed. What happened next wasn't planned. It wasn't PR. And it definitely wasn't for clout. There was no record label behind him, no carefully crafted diss track, just pure emotion. King Harris jumped straight onto Instagram stories and let it all out. No filters, no edits, just raw energy and real anger pouring out for the entire internet to see. And where he took it next, that's where things crossed into territory that everyone in hip-hop knows. The kind of line you just don't cross, no matter who you are or how famous you get. King Harris didn't hold back. He went straight for 50 Cent's most sensitive spot. He brought up 50's late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who was tragically murdered back in 1983 when 50 was just 8 years old. King fired off that if 50 wanted to keep posting pictures of other people's mothers, then he'd start posting his too. And to drive the point home, he even shared what looked like a photo of her gravesite, a move that stunned the entire internet. 50's reaction, pure 50 Cent energy, cold, sarcastic, and completely unbothered. He dropped a meme of Pepe the Frog laughing with LOL written across it and told King to stay out of grown men's business. But King wasn't about to back down. Not after everything that had been said. By February 23rd, King was still firing shots online. He called 50 an attention seeker who's been pulling the same old tricks for nearly 30 years. He even brought up the moment that shaped 50's entire legend, getting shot 9 times back in 2000. and flipped it on him. King said surviving something like that and still acting the same way wasn't impressive at all, claiming it showed 50 hadn't grown despite everything he'd been through. Then he kept digging deeper. King reminded the internet about one of the biggest moments in hip-hop history, when 50's 2007 album Curtis went head-to-head with Kanye West's Graduation and lost. He posted old throwback photos of 50 at a radio station holding oversized toy props, mocking him and calling him out for chasing attention instead of making moves that mattered. King even crossed into personal territory, mentioning 50's young son, Sire, and clowning a photo of them together, something that instantly had fans saying he'd gone too far. But he didn't stop there. King started tagging other big names, Diddy, Rick Ross, Ashanti, and more, almost daring them to weigh in on the madness. It was chaos online. Post after post, diss after diss, King was swinging wild, and the internet couldn't look away. If there was ever a moment to prove that this was more than internet drama, this was it. I didn't just stand behind his son, he stood beside him and then went even further himself. He made it clear he wasn't letting his son fight this battle alone. On February 23rd, T.I. dropped a diss track titled The Right One, firing direct shots at 50 Cent. In it, he called out 50 for being a man who talks big but dodges real competition, someone who hides behind social media instead of standing toe-to-toe in the arena. I didn't stop there. He went deeper, suggesting that 50's issues with women and his constant need to start fights came from deep emotional pain that goes all the way back to losing his mother so young. The track hit hard, not just lyrically, but emotionally, because it cut straight into 50's personal story. Then, T.I. teased another banger, a track called War, produced by DJ Tump, rumored to be part of his final album, Kill the King. But just when people thought he'd said it all, he dropped yet another song, What Bully? This time, he paired it with that infamous photo of 50 Cent from his 2011 movie, All Things Fall Apart, where 50 had lost a massive amount of weight for the role. That picture had haunted 50 for years, and T.I. brought it right back as the cover art. Talk about hitting a nerve. And it wasn't just T.I. and King in the ring. The family went full force. T.I.'s older son, Damani, stepped into the fight too. He released his own diss track, sampling Outkast's legendary Ms. Jackson, a choice that couldn't have been more pointed given the situation. It was a clever, deliberate jab that had fans instantly talking. Then, on February 24th, King Harris made it official. He dropped his own diss track called Made Man. For a 21-year-old who spent his whole life being labeled a Nepo baby, this was his moment to stand on his own. No more hiding behind his parents' fame. This was King versus one of the most ruthless trolls hip-hop has ever seen. But here's where it got even more interesting. While the Harris family went full attack mode, 50 Cent barely reacted to the music at all. No diss track, no lyrical response. Instead, he pulled one of his signature power moves, staying cool, pretending unbothered, and shifting attention elsewhere. He started flooding his page with promotions for his Broadway project, a revival of August Wilson's classic play, using the chaos to boost his business while everyone else was still throwing punches. 50 Cent's Broadway production Joe Turner's Come and Gone was set to open on April 25th, 2026. And instead of keeping it classy, he turned the promo into another jab. He posted the caption, "Opening night, April 25th. No rappers, no bad BBLs, no little up albino kids, just sold out Broadway." That line right there sent shockwaves across social media. Almost everyone who saw it instantly knew what he meant. The albino kids comment was clearly aimed at one of T.I. and Tiny's children, who lives with albinism, a condition that affects skin and hair color. People were outraged, not just fans, but the entire entertainment community. Even for 50, this was seen as too far. The backlash hit quick, and that post disappeared soon after. In fact, most of his posts connected to this whole feud eventually got deleted. But the next move, that's the one that truly broke the internet. Out of nowhere, 50 decided to go after someone nobody thought he'd ever touch. Tina Knowles, Beyonce's mother. It all started when Tina reposted a sweet video of Tiny Harris, showing her some quiet support with a heartfelt caption about what real feminine energy looks like. Tiny dropped a thank you in the comments. It was all peaceful, positive, woman-to-woman love. But 50 couldn't leave it alone. He fired back by posting a photo of Tina Knowles with a mocking caption about grandmothers jumping into beef. Then, to make things worse, he followed it up with a gif of Solange Knowles pulling off her earrings, a direct throwback to the infamous 2014 elevator fight with Jay-Z. 50 captioned it like a warning about killers, turning what was a supportive post from Tina into a twisted joke. That's when it all flipped on him. Beyonce's fan base, the Bayhive, came at 50 Cent with a level of fury that only they can bring. It was instant, massive, and relentless. They flooded his comments, flooded his mentions, and made sure every post he touched got dragged. Within hours, the pressure became impossible to ignore. By February 25th, just 2 days after his last shots, 50 Cent had completely wiped his Instagram. Every post tied to the feud was gone. Think about that for a second. The same man who spent over 20 years refusing to back down from anyone, the same guy who survived public beefs with Ja Rule, Rick Ross, and even Diddy, suddenly hit delete on everything. For a man like 50, that silence spoke louder than any diss track ever could. After all the chaos, 50 Cent quietly hit delete on everything. Every post, every meme, every caption, gone without a trace. He didn't say a word, just pure silence. But by then, the situation had already grown so massive that it spilled out of social media and into real life. Reports even surfaced saying that actual police departments were getting calls from people about the feud, not because anyone was in danger, but because fans were so deep in the drama, they thought law enforcement needed to know what was happening. That one wild detail shows just how completely this story took over the internet. Even now, people online are still split right down the middle about it. One side says 50 Cent started the mess, that he crossed the line first by dragging Tiny Harris into a fight she had nothing to do with. From that view, everything King Harris did afterward was just a son standing up for his mother. No PR, no clout chasing, just pure loyalty and family pride. But the other side fires back with a different take. That King crossed a boundary that can't be undone when he went after the memory of 50's late mother. They say no matter what 50 did first, there are some things you just don't touch. Not in rap, not in beef, not in life. And honestly, both sides have valid points. There's truth and pain on both ends, and nobody walks away clean in a feud this personal. It's the kind of story where emotions run deep and pride runs deeper. And that's exactly why it hits so hard across the culture. But if there's one thing hard to argue with, it's the pattern itself. 50 Cent has been playing this same game for over 2 decades. He stirs the pot, trolls his targets, and drops comments designed to sting. Then he sits back, watches people lose their cool, and lets the chaos do the work for him. It's his formula: provoke, poke, and profit from the reaction. And once again, the internet fell right into the trap, proving 50 still knows how to control the narrative better than almost anyone in hip-hop. The truth is, 50 Cent's strategy has always been the same: get under someone's skin until they snap. The more emotional the reaction, the more the internet crowns him the winner, no matter who actually had the smarter comeback or the harder bars. It's a formula that's worked time and time again. It broke Ja Rule, rattled Rick Ross, and caught plenty of others slipping. People lose their cool, 50 stays calm, and the audience decides he won the whole show. But this time, the game might have changed, because the question everyone's asking now is, does that same formula still work when the one firing back isn't the original rival, but a 21-year-old son with nothing to lose and no filter? King Harris went to places his father probably never would have gone, and 50 wasn't ready for that kind of energy. When 50 came for Tiny Harris thinking he found a weak spot in TY's camp, he actually hit the most protected person in that entire family, the one nobody touches. And when you cross that kind of line, you don't just start a feud, you start a war that doesn't end with music. So what do you think? Did 50 finally go too far, or did King cross the line first? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think about this one. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment for more wild breakdowns and updates just like this. Your support keeps these stories coming, so stay tuned. More drama, more truth, and more hip-hop heat coming your way next.